Hello, Meoni here, and welcome back to another summary, this time of the Pax East Boston, Massachusetts panel for Final Fantasy XIV and Dawntrail that came out today, the 23rd of March 2024. The first thing that you probably tuned into this video to know is the release date and early access details for Dawntrail, so I can confirm that for you now that the early access of Dawntrail comes to us on the 28th of June 2024, with the official release being the 2nd of July 2024. So it comes out on the 28th of June for those who pre-order for early access, which is a Friday, and then the following week on the 2nd of July the game service fully begins, obviously, for everybody who hasn't pre-ordered. They're making final adjustments to Endwalker. Yoshi P is in his hotel room quite regularly between PAX panels, also giving approval to things even on the fly. So that's pretty much where we're at if you were just tuning in for that. The rest of the information then, there is some good stuff. First of all, they want to talk about their journey of the last 10 years, 13 years if you count 1.0, of where Final Fantasy's been, where it is currently, and where they want to be for the next 20 years. They say that 30 million registered accounts as of the latest FanFest were noted, which is a really big number. This does not include the recent insurgence of lovely Xbox players who finally get to play the game, so I think the next time they talk about figures it's going to be even bigger. But of course, registered accounts, 30 million of them, doesn't include active accounts, active player counts. We know we don't have access to those metrics, but still 30 million registered accounts is absolutely enormous, especially compared to the previous expansion. They say the last 10 years has been trials and tribulations, learning from server stability, login queues, things like that, in terms of difficulty between savage tiers and normal content, trying to balance between the casual aspect of things as well as the hardcore raid side of things, and it's a process that continues, and they talk for a lengthy amount of time about how the journey has sort of taken its toll. They do mention some interesting things here though, that in terms of server congestion, Dawntrail will have an increased server population cap, so they should see less of a congestion screen. It's not going to go completely, but you should see less of an issue with the login, you are such and such in queue, in theory, so bear that in mind. That was something they mentioned. When it comes to Endwalker, they say that was the culmination of what they learnt so far. And they said that Endwalker and the journey to it was pretty much all about trying to get trusts working and to allow for some people who only wanted to play through the storyline to experience that as a solo player, as well as lighter sort of groups of players as well. Whereas with Dawntrail, one of their focuses now is actually to evolve their MMORPG aspect of it even further. What that means is refined multiplayer gameplay, including many more large-scale duties. They don't give an example of these, but previously we've seen announced field content, things like that, like Eureka. They also don't mention some in the presentation they mention, but they know that people have very different values when it comes to large-scale multiplayer content. Some people love it, some people hate it. So 7.0 and beyond will add to that variety. They want to stress here that they don't intend to neglect the smaller scale content like variant modes, etc., but they do want to expand on that multiplayer aspect going forward. And honestly, that's a really nice thing to hear, because a lot of it focused around maybe focusing on the solo player more, or the lighter content more. I like both sides of it, and it's nice to see we're getting more of the large scale stuff. Another point they mention is they want to develop a more fulfilling game experience. They say that there is some reflection to a piece of feedback they were given. For example, the target circle of enemies is currently too large. Apparently that's being looked at. Battle mechanics seem similar between various pieces of content to content. So what they want to do is spice things up a little. That's their focus for Dawntrail, to vary things up between fights. They know that they want to confirm that this doesn't mean to make everything difficult again. They don't want to focus just on one side rather than the other for the casual or hardcore. They want variety to be the spice of life, literally. So they don't want to make people's lives difficult, but they want to bring something unique to each and every battle so that it's not just a copy and paste. And he mentions, Yoshi P mentions how things sometimes feel a bit like a pattern, and the pattern is repeated between content. So you can rest assured it's more about having a unique identity to that content rather than just being able to do one, then you can do all of them. So that's a really cool thing to mention, and I hope that it succeeds. I can't wait to be, have memories of certain fights again. I will agree that some of it has been a bit monotonous, so it's a nice piece of feedback. They also say they want to take challenges and take risks in development. They hope the development team takes more risks. They say that they will probably screw up and they'll probably end up apologizing about things on a stage in the future, but they don't want things to be mundane when you play the game. And I think that's a key point, actually. Final Fantasy XIV's success, in my opinion, outside of this, is for that risk-taking. So it's nice to see that they're trying to bring more of that into it, and hopefully they can just keep throwing those eggs at a wall, see what sticks, and go with it. I'm excited. So obviously they do a bit of recap again for what Dawntrail has, but they do say with level 100 we don't want to upset everything. So in terms of the job balance, we want to update and add to what we already have for the jobs in the game, so don't expect something to be completely game breaking and a complete overhaul for all of the jobs. So that's an interesting thing. Obviously we'll have to wait and see what they do. They say they want to focus on the content and encounters themselves instead to bring the excitement back to that content. Improved rewards is actually a side effect of wanting to work towards this aim. So they say over the past 10 years, it's been difficult for them to add new rewards to that and break the structure basically, or add to that. With the different expansions till this point, they, obviously reiterate that. But what they want to do now, they have plans in place. By 7.3-ish, they say, they want to have around 1.5 times more than the current rewards. They say, with your subscriptions and continued support and sticking with us, we wanted to give back, end quote. So what that basically means is, a variety of rewards, but more of them. They mentioned obviously raiding. So does that mean perhaps that we're going to be seeing more pieces of gear? What does that mean entirely? But yeah, more is always better. More rewards is always more fun to have, and making things feel a little less monotonous and having different options to things is also a really good way of developing content, at least I think so. So the recap, obviously, to talk about level 100 being the cap, Viper and Pictomancer as the new jobs, playable race in the form of the female Rothgar. They're looking into the long-term plans for what the game would look like in 10 to 20 years. So that's their focus going forward. They want to set the base for this and then work on that. This includes obviously new areas, new raids, cosmic exploration, where they give a little bit more information. They say cosmic exploration, they say you're on a planet and you're exploring, end quote. Now, we didn't really know what this is. We still don't. I still think it's probably a restoration effort, but we'll see. New threats, new dungeons, new allies, and of course, tribal quests, things like that. So once again, to reiterate, the early access for Dawntrail is the 28th of June and the release is the 2nd of July. They're making final adjustments, as we said. And then they talk about the collector's edition. So they bring out this big gold box. There's a Viper statue of the Warrior of Light. That's the figure you get, which honestly looks pretty cool. If you've got any of the other collector's editions, most of them came with a really cool figure, and this one is quite nice actually. I'm looking forward to trying to pre-order this myself. Another of the items is a cloth world map, which has actually been fully updated since the previous maps we've seen, including the Dawntrail areas. It is absolutely beautiful. Quite a big map as well, like a desk-sized one, as you can see in Yoshi P's hands. I can't wait to get my hands on that. It looks really cool, seeing all of Tural there on the left, and obviously all of the Stormblood areas to the right. It looks so cool. There's also the Unending Journey as a journal book. So if you know the Unending Journey, you might see it in your in-room. This is a journal, a blank journal that you can write in if you want to. Quite nice actually, leather bound, looks cool. Then there's a leather vintage looking sort of, they describe it as a pen case. I think this is probably for like artist pens and things like that, maybe some brushes. It's got this beautiful sort of stitched landscape of the Dawntrail area, sort of, I think that's Tural on the background there. Looks really cool. The box itself is designed with the wonderful Yoshitaka Amano art, which we all have seen before when they announced this. It's nice to see that in a box. And those are the physical items. Then there's also digital items, so if you didn't want to get the collector's edition, the physical stuff, there's digital collector stuff. They show this video here with this Gundam-esque arc from Final Fantasy IX, if you remember Final Fantasy IX's arc, which seems to look like a skeleton reskin of Cruise Chaser underneath, admittedly, but it's really cool, isn't it? It has this like Gundam transformation which I quite like. I can't wait to get my hands on that. There's also a wind-up garnet minion and a chocobo brush for your Pictomancer. So you know how we've got a red mage chicken knife, we have a Pictomancer chocobo brush, which looks pretty cool. It's got a nice little palette there offhand, very nice. And garnet, it's long overdue since we got some Final Fantasy IX minions, certainly. I can't wait to add those. If you're on Steam, you can buy a box with just the physical items if you wanted to collect as items, and then just buy the game digitally on Steam separately, because of course there is no Steam physical collector's edition with a code inside of that, so that's how you'd have to buy that. But all of the other versions remain exactly the same as with every other expansion, so you can buy the physical or the digital collector's edition on the various stores. So there we go. So when it comes to the graphical requirements, they do say that the requirements have actually gone up again. As you can see here with the minimum and recommended specs, it's gone up a little bit since the previous announcement, as we saw before. Mostly changes to the CPU there with the i7. This actually also includes Mac players. The Mac player requirement has gone up as well, so bear that in mind if you play on Mac. Pre-order bonuses for the actual expansion include the Wind-Up Zidane and the Azema's Earrings. So the Wind-Up Zidane is a core, obviously, main protagonist from Final Fantasy IX, and the Azema's Earrings, you might be familiar with the ones we had before. However, these provide EXP for combat rolls up to level 90. The pre-orders then begin on Tuesday, the 26th of March. They have this little slide here with 9 AM GMT, 9 AM Japan Standard Time, and 9 AM PDT, with Steam pre-orders beginning globally at 9 AM PDT. So of course Steam, it's not going to run out, but if you're wanting to get yourself a collector's edition physical versions, you need to be there at 9 AM GMT, JST or PDT to snag yourself a pre-order. Of course, those are limited spots, so be sure to probably do this at work, if you're at work, I'm guessing, but those are the pre-order dates. The other information we got was the Final Fantasy 16 crossover will begin. This is actually on the 2nd of April until the 8th of May. So you can take part and get the Torgal mount, Torgal minion, and I'm not sure what other things, probably some orchestrion rolls. I love the 16 music. You can get those on the 2nd of April until the 8th of May when the event will be retired. So bear that in mind. There will apparently be a media tour for Dawntrail. Apparently that will begin at the start or early May. This was mentioned, so who knows? Maybe your favorite content creators will be included in that. Fingers crossed. April is when we get the next letter from a producer live, so we should get some more information on Dawntrail. They say the next letter from a producer live will include graphical changes, so in-game footage of that, and I'm really excited to see what it looks like in motion. We've seen some footage obviously from the FanFest, but to see it on a live letter, hopefully Yoshi P has free access and can walk around or something, so you can see what it looks like in motion side by side. I think it's going to be very dramatic, and I cannot wait to see more. But that's pretty much all that we got from PAX. But when I say all we got from PAX, that's pretty much all of the things that I wanted to get from it. So I'm very happy personally, and I can't believe that in 3 months or so we're going to be playing Dawntrail. I am so happy. I'm smiling from ear to ear. Anyway, let me know what you think about this. All of the information that I can find I'll put in the description, but again, this was a live stream, so I've just made a summary. Much love. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be excited, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. So